Welcome to the Madison Miller Podcast Special Edition Series where I do my 2021-2022 NBA season predictions. I'm going to go over my predicted standings. Then I'll do my award predictions. Then I'm going to do most improved players from each team, disappointment players, make or break players, Ewing theory potential with some teams and players, and bold predictions for every team. Okay, we'll start the season standings, how I predict them. We'll start in the Eastern Conference. In first place, I have, with the record of 57-25, the Milwaukee Bucks. They're your reigning NBA champions. Giannis Antetokounmpo, probably the best player in basketball right now. He's just a monster. And then you have Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday in there. You have Dante DiVincenzo, and you have Pat Connaughton, Brooke Lopez, and some other nice role players. Bobby Portis among them as well. In second place in the East, I have with the record of 55-27, the Brooklyn Nets. This could end up being a prediction that's blown in my face, depending on how this Kyrie Irving situation turns out. Obviously, he's not vaccinated, and Barclays Center and Madison Square Garden, New York, are requiring vaccinations for NBA players for their games, and we'll see how that plays out. Obviously, Durant and Harden are still there. Kyrie or not, they should be okay, especially with Harden and Durant. Steve Nash in year 2. Joe Harris coming off of dismal playoffs. They have a lot of nice role players. Paul Millsap, LaMarcus Aldridge, Blake Griffin, Patty Mills. So I think Brooklyn is set. I think they're really, really good. In third place, I have the record of 52-30, the Philadelphia 76ers. Now, this team has a lot of drama on their hands, too, with the Ben Simmons situation. He's back at camp. Now the question is, do they trade him or not? And then you have, obviously, Joel Embiid, the best big man in the NBA. Tobias Harris, very solid starting player. You have some other role players like Tyrese Maxey and Matthias Thybulle, Seth Curry, Danny Green. So the Sixers are pretty deep. Number 4, the Atlanta Hawks, 50-32. Obviously, Trae Young was the breakout star of the postseason last year. He's going to have a big chip on his shoulder this year. You also have John Collins and Clint Capella, DeAndre Hunter, Cam Reddish. You have a lot of good players on the team. Nate McMillan, his first full year. In fifth place in the East with a record of 49-33 with the Miami Heat. Kyle Lowry comes in. Still have Jimmy Butler and Bam. Duncan Robinson, Tyler Herro. Kendrick Nunn's gone. Eric Spoelstra's still there. Number 6 in the East with a record of 45-37, the Boston Celtics. Celtics, very disappointing year last year. Brad Stevens is out as head coach. He is now actually the team president, which is weird that he's still associated with the team. And their new head coach is Ime Udoka. Who comes over from, I believe he came over from the Mavs. So he came over from Brooklyn. All right, so he was under Stephen Nash last year, and then the year before he was under Brett Brown, and then before that he was under Greg Popovich. So he's bounced around quite a bit. Their new head coach, but the two big stars are still there, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Al Horford, they acquired in the trade, so he should solidify them at center. Robert Williams, they like as well. Kemba Walker's gone, Dennis Schroeder's in, Marcus Smart's still on the team. Number 7, I have the New York Knicks at 44-38. The Knicks were the biggest surprise in the league last year, getting not only into the postseason in the top 6 and winning the playing game. They got home court advantage in the first round, but they wound up losing to Trae Young and the upstart Hawks. Tom Thibodeau, year 2. Julius Randle gets the big extension. They bring back pretty much the same team as last year, except they upgraded on the wing and at point guard with Kemba Walker and Evan Fournier, respectively. Derrick Rose is back. Nerlens Noel's back, the backup center. They get Mitchell Robinson back from injury. RJ Barrett, someone who I think is going to have a big breakout season for the Knicks. Number 8 in the East, also with the record of 44-38, the Indiana Pacers. Rick Carlisle's in as coach. This team really underachieved a year ago, in my opinion. They have so much talent on this team. Obviously, Domantas Sabonis has emerged as one of the better big men in the league. Obviously, Nate Bjorkgren, nobody liked him. He's obviously was one and done with Indiana. Malcolm Brogdon just got paid. They still have T.J. Warren, but he's hurt. Karis LeVert hurt. Came over from Brooklyn in that trade. Miles Turner's still on the team. They have some nice role players on the team, so I think this is a bounce-back team in the Eastern Conference. Number 9, with the record of 40-42, the Chicago Bulls. They really made over their team in the offseason. Lonzo Ball in, DeMar DeRozan in. Patrick Williams in year 2. Billy Donovan year 2 as head coach. Lauri Markkanen out. Nikola Vucevic in his first full season with the Bulls. So they'll be improved, but what makes me pause about them is who are they stopping? In 10th place in the East with a record of 39-43, the Washington Wizards. The Wizards are an interesting team. They obviously traded away Russell Westbrook to the Lakers for a bunch of the former Laker role players like Kyle Kuzma and guys like that. Contavious Caldwell-Pope was in that deal. Now, those guys and Bradley Beal, and they have some young guys, Rui Hachimura, I think will be better. They're deep at the center position. They have Montrezl Harrell, who also came over in that deal. They have Thomas Bryant coming off the injury, and they have Daniel Gafford, so they're pretty deep at the big man spot. And then Denny Avdija in year 2. And then they acquire Spencer Dinwiddie in a sign-and trade from Brooklyn. And that's obviously the big wild card for that team. Number 11 with the record of 38-44, the Charlotte Hornets. This Charlotte team's going to be fun, but I just think that the East is better, so somebody has to miss out on the postseason, and that is the Hornets. LaMelo Ball, year 2, he'll be a lot better. They have a good coach. James Borrego is a really solid coach. Miles Bridges is a solid player. They upgraded at center. I believe Mason Plumlee's now their starting big man. Devontae Graham's not there anymore. They still have Terry Rozier. Number 12 in the East, I have at the record 35-47, the Toronto Raptors. This is, to me, the East's single biggest wild card. This could either be a 50-win team if all breaks right, or this could be a 30-win team, and they could tank. I think they're in the middle. Pascal Siakam really hasn't been as good as he was the year he won Most Improved. OG Anunoby, somebody that they're relying on to break out. Same with Chris Boucher. Fred VanVleet's a great player. They lose Kyle Lowry, which stinks. Nick Nurse is a good coach. So that's why I don't think they're really going to actually tank. Number 13, I have the Cleveland Cavaliers at 30-52. Promising young backcourt with Colin Sexton and Darius Garland. They signed away Lauri Markkanen from the Bulls. They have Evan Mobley, who they drafted 3rd overall. Isaac Okoro, someone that could have a breakthrough year. So it's going to be interesting to see with this team, like who stays and who goes in terms of like trade pieces and whatnot. Number 14, the Detroit Pistons. I have them sitting at 21-61. I don't think this team's very good. I'm not convinced that Jeremy Grant's going to be on this team in a year from now, 6 months from now even. Obviously, Cade Cunningham, the number 1 overall picks on this team. Killian Hayes, they're banking on to break through, as well as some of their other young players on this roster, like Sadiq Bey. And their starting center, the guy, Isaiah Stewart, they're banking on to break through as well as a year 2 player. And in the cellar of the East, 15th, 20-62, the Orlando Magic. I just think this team's awful. Obviously, they traded away the veterans at the deadline last year, went all young. Wendell Carter Jr., they just paid, so they locked him up long-term on a nice, friendly contract. That wasn't a bad contract. I actually like that deal for them. They have Jonathan Isaac coming back from injury. Chumo Kiki, the former Auburn product, they're banking on. Same with Markelle Fultz formerly of the 76ers. So they're banking on a lot of young guys, and obviously Jalen Suggs is on the Magic, so I think he'll provide some hope on the horizon for them as well. And now the Western Conference. In first place in the West, I have with the record of 56-26, the Phoenix Suns. The Suns, I think, have the best roster in the West right now. In terms of a team that's built to succeed in the regular season. Devin Booker's a star. Chris Paul, still Chris Paul. They really enjoyed a big playoff breakout from DeAndre Ayton. Mikal Bridges just got paid, so that's their big 4, essentially. There's other guys they like that they're banking on to improve, like Cam Johnson and people like that. Jalen Smith in year 2. And another guy that's on this team is Jay Crowder, who's a really, really good offensive and defensive player off the bench, or they could start him. They really did start him a lot in the playoffs, because their starting 5 would be those 4 they just listed and Crowder. So this team's really, really loaded, and obviously Dario Saric is on this team. They missed him in the finals last year. Who would have thought that when he got hurt? And obviously they nailed the coaching hire with Monty Williams. In second place in the West, I have the record of 54-28, the Utah Jazz. Utah had the best record in the league last year. People tend to forget that. But they're still good. Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert are still there. Joe Ingles still there. Bojan Bogdanovic still there. So this team's pretty stacked, and Quinn Snyder's still around. So they're going to be a good regular season team again. Number 3, I have the Los Angeles Lakers at 52-30. Obviously, LeBron's still LeBron as long as he's healthy. He's looked pretty good in the preseason. He's looked like himself. Anthony Davis coming off the injury. Russell Westbrook's on this team now. And I like Westbrook on this team because it splits up like minutes with those 2, with LeBron and Davis, with Westbrook. And Westbrook's just going to continue to put up monster stats. And he doesn't have to be the man. So that's the good thing about Westbrook here. That's why I really like that addition so much. But outside the big 3, they have a lot of like former stars / current role players like Dwight Howard, Carmelo Anthony. They brought in Kendrick Nunn and Malik Monk. Trevor Ariza's there now. They have a lot of different pieces. DeAndre Jordan's on the Lakers now. So they have an interesting mix of guys here. In fourth place in the West side with the record of 47-35, the Denver Nuggets. Nikola Jokic, the reigning MVP. Jamal Murray, the unknown, is when's he coming back, but that's why I have them with the lower win total because of that uncertainty. Michael Porter Jr. Got paid, and he gets better every year. Monte Morris is a player that has to step up in Murray's absence. Will Barton's a solid player. But yeah, Denver's just still pretty deep. And I think that they're going to be heard from. In fifth place in the West, I have the record of 46-36, the Golden State Warriors. This is another bit of a wild card because they also have a big player coming back, and that's Klay Thompson coming off the torn ACL. The hot rumor is that he's going to be back for Christmas, but Golden State's being more realistic about it and pushing it to January, it seems like. And then Stephen Curry's still Stephen Curry. Draymond's not the guy he used to be, but he's still a solid defensive player at least. They're relying on two young rookies to be big contributors for them this season in Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody. They're really banking on those guys to be good for them, especially Kuminga. And Andrew Wiggins is still on this team, and then James Wiseman they're banking on a breakout from. In sixth place in the West, I have the record of 45-37, the Portland Trailblazers. Portland is good. They've been around for a while. Dame and CJ are still there. Yusuf Nurkic is getting some most improved player buzz. Nasir Little, someone they're banking on to have a breakthrough year. Robert Covington's still there. They have Norman Powell on the team who they just paid. So this is an interesting team. I think they're going to be a very fun and high-scoring team as they always are. And they have a new coach in Chauncey Billups. In seventh place, I have the record also of 45-37, the Dallas Mavericks. So here I have the Mavericks in the playing game instead of the Blazers because I just picked the Blazers as like a tiebreaker scenario here. Let's say that the Blazers get the tiebreaker. And same for Knicks Pacers in the East. I have Knicks over Indiana as in terms of a playing game, home game. So the Mavs, Luka Doncic, the MVP favorite for the second consecutive year according to FanDuel, which to me is incorrect. Like, what have the Mavericks won? What playoff series have they won? Nothing. So they're just banking on potential and him being Giannis from 2-3 years ago. Kristaps Porzingis really hasn't been the same player since he tore his ACL when he was on the Knicks. He's shown flashes, but he really hasn't been consistent. Tim Hardaway Jr. is a good player. Jalen Brunson's a guy they're banking on. Dwight Powell, solid role player. And they also have a new coach in Jason Kidd. In eighth place in the West, I have with the record of 44-38, the Los Angeles Clippers. The Clippers, they're interesting. They're not going to be great in the regular season, but they could get Kawhi back in like March, and then they could be like that team that nobody really wants to play in the postseason. And they made the conference finals without Kawhi last year on the back of one Paul George, and I think Paul George is going to be a monster this year. I really do. And the great unknown is Kawhi with this team. And then they have some other guys on this team that I like, Ivica Zubac. They brought back Reggie Jackson. They also have Eric Bledsoe, Luke Kennard, Terrence Mann is someone they're banking on to have like a breakthrough year. Nick Batum, solid role player. Marcus Morris, solid role player. In ninth place in the West, the Memphis Grizzlies at 41-41. I love Ja Morant. I think that guy is a star. I think he's special. He's a leader. I think that he could be this year's version of Trae Young. And I think that the supporting cast around him isn't bad. Jaren Jackson Jr., though, is somebody that really hasn't been that great since coming off the injury. And he's just somebody that people, including myself last year, just penciled him in to be great. I thought he was going to be the most improved player. That's a bad pick. Desmond Bane's a really fun player. Dylan Brooks is awesome. They swap out Jonas Valanciunas for Steven Adams. So, going to see how that works out. And Taylor Jenkins, to me, is a solid coach. 10th place in the West with a record of 37-45, the New Orleans Pelicans. So I have the Pelicans in the last play-in spot in the Western Conference. Zion Williamson out to start the season with the foot issue. That's not good. He's their franchise pretty much. Lonzo Ball's gone. That's unfortunate. Replacing him is Devontae Graham, who they got in the Lonzo Ball sign and trade. Brandon Ingram won Most Improved Player a few years ago. He's solid. They have some other young guys they are relying on to be good, like Jackson Hayes and Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Kyra Lewis. And they also have a new head coach, as Stan Van Gundy was one and done. Their new coach is Willie Green, who was an assistant on Monty Williams' staff in Phoenix. In 11th in the West, I have the record of 36-46, the Sacramento Kings. So, one game short of the play-in, I have the Kings. They have a great guard and wing combination that they could mix and match with. Obviously, De'Aaron Fox and Tyrese Halliburton. Rookie Davion Mitchell, they're banking on to be great. They still have Buddy Hield. Harrison Barnes is still on the team. The question is what happens with Marvin Bagley, because they bring in Tristan Thompson. Rashawn Holmes is still there. But Luke Walton, to me, is an interesting coach. Do they fire him at some point? Maybe. I'm surprised he's still their coach. Number 12, the San Antonio Spurs, 33-49. Greg Popovich is still there. I personally think that this could be his last season. I've been calling for that for a while now. I think I predicted it the last two NBA seasons, ironically enough. DeJounte Murray's still there. Derek White. Bryn Forbes is, I believe, on the Bucks now. So they have a mix and match of guys. Keldon Johnson's a guy that they like. He was on Team USA. Jakob Bertel, they got in the Kawhi trade. He's still around. Number 13, the Minnesota Timberwolves. I have them 30-52 on the season. Anthony Edwards is someone that a lot of people expect the year two big breakout from. Karl Anthony Towns is still around. D'Angelo Russell, to me, really only just had that one great year with the Nets, which kind of led to the Nets being who they are today, ironically enough. The Timberwolves have a coach in Chris Finch, who they really like. Chris Finch. He comes over from the Raptors. This is his first full season. They hired him in the middle of last year, firing Ryan Saunders, which was just unfortunate for them. In 14th in the West, I have the record of 24-58, the Oklahoma City Thunder. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is just an absolute joy to watch. It's just unfortunate he's on this lousy team. And they have a very promising young core led by Gilgeous-Alexander. They have Alexis Pokusevich, who they like, and Lil Gwen Stewart. And then they also have some other players who they're relying on, like Darius Baisley. And they have a lot of rookies on this team as well. And in the cellar, I have in the Western Conference 15th with a record of 22-60 to Houston Rockets. I think this team still stinks. Jalen Green's going to be exciting for them. I feel bad for Steven Silas. I really do. So they have him. They have Kevin Porter. Christian Wood, they signed as a free agent last year. They signed him thinking that there's a chance that they'd still keep around James Harden. Yikes. And the Rockets still have John Wall on their team. Now the question is, where do they possibly trade him? So that's a subplot to monitor throughout the season. Okay, the playoffs. We're going to start the play-in game. We'll start with the East. 8 seed Pacers at 7 seed Knicks from Madison Square Garden. No way the Knicks lose the play-in game at home, right? That crowd is going to be electric, full capacity. Thibodeau, low-scoring game. Thibodeau and Carlisle, so it's a good coaching matchup. But the best player on the court in this game would be who? Julius Randle, you would say? Maybe RJ Barrett, depending on, like, if he makes a huge leap this year. Like, I think he can and will. But the best player in this game is probably Julius Randle, so I'd say Knicks. And then the Pacers go on to play the Bulls for the Bulls-Wizards winner for the last spot. This would be a really fun game. Bradley Beal against Lonzo Ball from the United Center. You have Wes Unseld Jr. and Billy Donovan. This would be a fun play-in game. And guess what? I'm going to go with the upset with the Wizards. I think they're... I just think Bradley Beal is just a monster, and he can win this game by himself. I just think they're deeper than Chicago. But I think that Chicago is probably better in the regular season. And I could see Beal putting the Wizards on his back. And I don't know if Lonzo is capable of doing that, or Zach LaVine, whose name I didn't even mention when talking about the Bulls earlier, could put the Bulls on his back. So I'm going to go with the Wizards to take on the Pacers in the final play-in spot game. From Indianapolis, this would be so much fun of a game. You have Beal and then Sabonis on the opposite side. And you know what? Let's ride the Wizards. Let's say the 10th seed in the East gets to the postseason and we see something wacky. So the Wizards get the 8th seed over Indiana and over the Bulls to get themselves to the real Eastern Conference playoffs. And then on the opposite end, for the playing game, 7-8 would be the Mavericks and the Clippers. I am going to go with the Clippers here. Let's say Kawhi Leonard comes back in March and gets a little bit in rhythm and whatnot, and he carries the Clippers to a win over a team they absolutely own in the Mavericks. Him and Paul George absolutely own the Mavericks. So the Clippers get the 7th spot, and the Mavs have to play the winner of Grizzlies Pelicans. Grizzlies Pelicans, fun game. John Moran against Zion Williamson, top 2 picks from the 2019 draft. Oh, that's funny. So I have Zion, John, RJ Barrett on the play-in game this year. So how ironic is that? Except obviously RJ in the other conference. So Grizzlies Pelicans would be a really fun playing game. I just think that the Grizzlies have the coaching advantage here and the deeper team. So let's go with John, the Grizzlies, to get out of that. And then the Pelicans are scratching their heads after another disappointing finish to a season. And then the Grizzlies take on the Mavericks. And let's say this is the Luka Doncic show. So the Mavericks get the 8 seed instead of the Grizzlies. And then the Clippers get 7. And then in the East, I have Knicks 7 and then Wizards actually 8th. So that's something very different for the postseason. All right, so Eastern Conference first round, Wizards Bucks. Let's go Bucks in 5. Magic run for the Wizards come to that. Maybe they steal one game with Bradley Beal. So the Bucks move on. The Dream Series, everybody. Nets, Knicks. The Dream Series. How about that? That is so cool. Everyone's buzzing. And the irony is that when I did my hockey predictions, I had Rangers Islanders in the first round too. So what a coincidence. That's crazy. Knicks, Nets, and Rangers Islanders. That's going to have New York buzzing. So there you have that. Maybe they have the Kyrie Irving situation figured out by then. Obviously, they have Irving or not, the best 2 players on the court in this series with Durant and Harden. And then they have the third best player with Irving if he's around. And then you have, on the other side, Randall, Barrett, Fournier, Rose, Walker, Robinson. They're deep. They're really, really deep. But Brooklyn just has the star power that I don't think the Knicks can overcome. I don't think they're stopping James Harden and Kevin Durant. So let's go Nets in 6. They win Game 6 at Madison Square Garden against the Knicks. 76ers Celtics, a good Atlantic Division rival here too. Not as fun as Nets-Knicks, but another fun division rival from the same division as that. This series, I'm going to go Sixers in 6. Celtics win 2 games on Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown's backs, but the Sixers are just better. I think the teams could potentially look different. So that's that. And Hawks Heat, a division rival there. I'm going to go Hawks in 7. Trae Young's the best player in the series. So Hawks in 7 over the Heat. As the Heat are going to be scratching their heads. The Western Conference. Suns, Mavericks. So you have the best player in the series is actually on the 8th seed Mavericks with Luka. How funny is that? But the 2nd and 3rd and 4th and 5th best players in the series are all on the Phoenix Suns, depending on how you feel about Kristaps Porzingis. So Luka can't do it by himself. Suns in 5. Let's say the Mavericks win 1 game in that series on Luka's back. Your 2-7 would be Jazz Clippers. So the rematch of the series that the Jazz collapsed in. Kawhi's back. But I'm not sure if Kawhi will be back. And the same player he was before he got hurt. So Jazz in 7 over the Clippers. Your 3-6 is the Lakers and the Trailblazers. I'm sure a lot of people are hoping for Lakers Warriors because LeBron against Steph, but LeBron against Dame's a lot of fun. Rematch from the series in the bubble. I'm going to go with the Lakers in 6. They have 3 of the 5 best players in the series. Obviously, Russell Westbrook on this team is just a different dynamic. So, Lakers over the Blazers in 6. And then your 4-5 Warriors, Nuggets. Jamal Murray's going to be back for the series. So will Klay Thompson. Both teams at full strength. It'll be a lot of fun. But I think the better team here is the Nuggets, led by Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. I don't think Draymond Green's the same player. So give me the Nuggets in 7 over the Golden State Warriors. The second round in the East, I have a rematch for the conference finals, Bucks-Hawks. I'm going to take the Milwaukee Bucks in 6 for the second consecutive year over the Hawks. And then Nets 76ers, so another Atlantic Division playoff match. No matter how different the Sixers look, I don't see them stopping Durant and Kyrie, assuming he's there, and Harden. So give me Brooklyn in 6 over the 76ers. The West side, you have the Suns and the Nuggets. So a rematch of the second round from last year where the Suns swept Denver out of the postseason without Jamal Murray. This time they have Murray back, but it still won't be enough for me. I'm going to go with the Suns in 7 over the Nuggets. And then the Jazz and the Lakers. Lakers at full strength. Davis healthy, LeBron healthy. Lakers in 6 over the Jazz. So the second consecutive year where the Jazz lose in the second round in 6 games at the Staples Center, this time against the Lakers. Eastern Conference Finals, Bucks-Nets. So a rematch of the second round from last year in the conference finals. Obviously, this is a different outcome of the series if Kevin Durant's foot is behind the line, and the Bucks obviously would have a different coach. But this time around, the Nets are healthier. So give me the Nets in 6 over the Bucks for the Nets to go to the finals. And any hopes and dreams for the Bucks to repeat. And on the other side, you have the Suns and the Lakers. So a first round rematch from last year. I think it's going to be a great, great series. But I think LeBron and Anthony Davis are going to have revenge on their mind. They think they would have won that series if Davis didn't get hurt. I tend to disagree. I think that's disrespectful to the Suns, who really came together at the right time. And also, we're missing Chris Paul in that series. Don't forget about that, guys. But this time around, I'm going Lakers in 7 over the Suns. And the NBA Finals, the Dream Finals, the one that ABC wants, Lakers, Nets. Great series. You have LeBron against Durant for the first time in 4 years. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And then you have Kyrie versus LeBron, which is a lot of fun as a subplot. And then Harden versus LeBron. And this would be Harden. Oh my God! You have the OKC reunion. You have Harden and Durant against Westbrook. Wow, I just thought about that. So that's crazy. But ultimately, I think the deeper and the better team is the Brooklyn Nets. We'll see whether Kyrie's there or not. And I think that the Nets will win the 2021-22 NBA championship in 7 games over LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Russell Westbrook, and the Los Angeles Lakers. So the Brooklyn Nets are my championship pick, everybody. All right. Awards for the season. MVP, I'm going to go with Giannis. He's the best player in the world. I have the Bucks as the best record. I have them winning the 1 seed in the East. They're great. I think Giannis will have a big chip on his shoulder this season. And I think a lot of people think that championship was a fluke because Anthony Davis got hurt and Kevin Durant's foot was not behind the line. So I think Giannis is going to come in with the big chip on his shoulder. He's 7-1 to win the MVP, and I absolutely love it. Runner-up, Kevin Durant. I think he's going to have a big year for the Nets. He's still Kevin Durant. And the way he's come back from that injury is just remarkable. And he's plus 650. My defensive player of the year, I have Rudy Gobert of the Jazz. A perennial guy for this award. He's a plus 380 favorite. And in my runner-up for this award, Joel Embiid. He is 12-1 to win this award. Most improved player, RJ Barrett. I love RJ Barrett. I think this guy is going to be a star. He is 38-1 to win the most improved player. I'm surprised by that number. That's crazy to me. He's amazing. I think there's a chance he's the best player on the Knicks this year. And I think that he's going to potentially run away with this award. And my runner-up, Mikal Bridges of the Phoenix Suns, as he is 49-1 to win this award. The sixth man of the year. Let's go with Malik Monk of the Los Angeles Lakers. I think he's going to have a potential resurgence on this team. On FanDuel, he's 42-1 to win this award. And my runner-up, Jordan Clarkson, who won this award last year. He's 6-1. My rookie of the year, let's go with Evan Mobley of the Cleveland Cavaliers. I just think that those guards are going to give him the ball a lot. And he could put up some double-doubles. So, he's 13-1. I don't know how he's double digits for this. And my runner-up for this, Cade Cunningham, who is 3-1 for this. Coach of the year, I'm going to go with Steve Nash. I think that Brooklyn wins the championship, but this is a regular season award. But I think that he's going to rally this team together, sans the Kyrie drama. Maybe Kyrie comes back. And I think that Nash will get them to perform up to expectations. And my runner-up, Monty Williams, 1 seed in the West. After many people thought that they were a fluke entry in the NBA Finals, I think that guy's going to be motivated to coach this year. My executive of the year, Rob Pelinka, Los Angeles Lakers. I think that Russell Westbrook is going to change the dynamic of that team. And because of it, he'll get a lot of credit. And my runner-up, Daryl Morey, Philadelphia 76ers. I think that there could be changes made to this team, and they'll still win over 50 games. Okay, now I'm going to predict everybody's most improved players. I'm going to go in alphabetical order by team. Atlanta, DeAndre Hunter. Boston, Robert Williams. Brooklyn, Nick Claxton. Charlotte, LaMelo Ball, but non-LaMelo division will go with Miles Bridges. Chicago, Patrick Williams. Cleveland, Darius Garland. And potentially Isaac Okoro too, but I like Garland for this. Dallas, Jalen Brunson. Denver, Monte Morris. Detroit, Killian Hayes. Golden State, James Weissman. Houston, Kevin Porter Jr. Indiana, Goga Bitadze. Clippers, Terrence Mann. Lakers, Talen Horton Tucker. Memphis, Desmond Bane. Miami, Tyler Herro. Milwaukee, Dante DiVincenzo. Minnesota, Anthony Edwards. New Orleans, non-Zion division. Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Knicks, RJ Barrett. If I had to pick a second one, I'd say Obi Toppin. Oklahoma City, LeGwen Stewart. Orlando, Wendell Carter Jr. Philadelphia, Tyrese Maxey. Phoenix, Mikal Bridges. Portland, Nasir Little. Sacramento, Tyrese Halliburton. In the non-Halliburton division, let's go with... If it's not him, then I could see it being Louis King. I could see him, like, weirdly having an impact. San Antonio, Keldon Johnson. Toronto, Chris Boucher. Utah, Mie Oini. And Washington, Rui Hachimura. All right, disappointment players for this season. Atlanta, Lou Williams. Boston, Dennis Schroeder. Brooklyn, Blake Griffin. Charlotte, Gordon Hayward. Chicago, DeMar DeRozan. Cleveland, Ricky Rubio. Dallas, Kristaps Porzingis. Denver, Aaron Gordon. Detroit, Hamidou Diallo. Golden State, Draymond Green. Houston, John Wall. Indiana, TJ Warren. Clippers, Reggie Jackson. Lakers, Carmelo Anthony. Memphis, Steven Adams. Miami, PJ Tucker. Milwaukee, Brook Lopez. Minnesota, D'Angelo Russell. New Orleans, Devontae Graham. Knicks, Derrick Rose. OKC, Derek Favors. Orlando, Markelle Fultz. Philadelphia, Andre Drummond. Phoenix, JaVale McGee. Portland, let's go with Cody Zeller. Sacramento, Tristan Thompson. San Antonio, Zach Collins. Toronto, Goran Dragic. Utah, Hassan Whiteside. And Washington, Spencer Dinwiddie. All right, make or break players for every team. Boston, Romeo Langford. I almost said Peyton Pritchard. That was a mistake by me. Brooklyn, DeAndre Bembry. Charlotte. That's a tough one for me. Probably Kelly Oubre, only because of his injury history and stuff. Chicago, Kobe White. Cleveland, Lauri Markkanen. Dallas, Trey Burke. Denver, that's a tough one for Denver, to be honest. I guess Bol. Detroit, Josh Jackson. Golden State, Damian Lee. Houston. I guess Donnell House. Indiana. I would say Turner, Miles Turner, amazingly enough, yet again. Clippers, Ivica Zubac, only because I don't think they're sure he's a starting big man on a contending team. Lakers, Sekou Doumbouya. Memphis, Brandon Clark. Miami, KZ Okpala. Milwaukee, Grayson Allen. Minnesota, Malik Beasley. New Orleans, Jackson Hayes. Knicks, Kevin Knox. OKC, Darius Bazley. Orlando, Mo Bamba. Philadelphia, Matthias Thybulle. Phoenix, Jalen Smith. Portland, Dennis Smith Jr. Sacramento, Marvin Bagley. San Antonio, Lonnie Walker. Toronto. This is a tough one, but let's say only because people keep picking this is the year, OJ Anunoby. Utah, Eric Pascal. And Washington, Thomas Bryant. All right, Ewing theory players. Talk about a team that either lost a player due to injury or player because it's perceived that they got worse because they lost a player. The real Ewing theory with the Hawks is Lloyd Pierce, their coach. They got rid of him and they were better without him. But that was predictable. But there's no one really on Atlanta that they lost. Boston, Kemba Walker, maybe. Obviously Brooklyn's is Kyrie Irving. Charlotte, I can't think of a good one for Charlotte. Chicago, Markkanen really doesn't count. If anything, we'll get to a couple good ones with players who joined the Bulls. I can't think of one for Cleveland or Dallas. Jamal Murray with Denver, maybe. Can't think of one for Detroit. Warriors without Clay. We know there's no Ewing theory there. Houston, John Wall. Indiana, maybe without TJ or LeVert. Clippers, no Kawhi, which would be wild. Lakers without their set of role players from the last couple years like Kuzma and KCP. Memphis without Valanciunas. Miami, they really didn't lose anybody. Neither did Milwaukee. Can't think of any from Minnesota either. New Orleans without Lonzo Ball is a big one potentially. Knicks really didn't lose anybody important. OKC. There's not one I can think of for them. Orlando without Isaac and Fultz. Without Vucevic. I guess that's it. Philadelphia without Ben Simmons after they trade him. The Suns really didn't lose anybody. Neither did Portland. Sacramento without Bogdanovich still is like a thing. San Antonio, they really didn't lose anyone. I guess without DeRozan would be it. If they're better without DeRozan. Toronto, Kyle Lowry's a good one. And Utah didn't lose anybody. And then Washington, obviously, without Westbrook is a good Ewing theory potential as well. Obviously, like I said, Ewing theory is when you remove a good player and you're better off without him. And the reason why it's called Ewing theory is I say this on my podcast all the time. The Ringer's Bill Simmons made that up when the 1999 New York Knicks made the NBA Finals without Patrick Ewing, who got injured in the playoffs that year. But they lost the finals to the Spurs. So that's why I don't like the name Ewing theory, but I just keep it anyway. I mean, it worked out for the Eagles with Carson Wentz, as we know. And it worked out for the Nationals without Bryce Harper. It worked. And then they haven't won a championship, but the Islanders are better off without John Tavares. Ewing theory works for them, as we've seen every year since John Tavares went to Toronto. All right, bold predictions for every team. All right, the Hawks. Let's say that they pull off some sort of midseason trade for a position of need, and Cam Reddish is somehow involved in the trade. And I think that John Collins could be in the deal too. I could see like a 2-for-1 where they improve at like combo forward or something where those two are like the parameters of a trade. The Boston Celtics, my prediction for them is that Dennis Schroeder does not pan out for them, and they're in the market for a point guard at the trade deadline. Brooklyn, Kyrie Irving gets the vaccine, and it all works out for the Nets, and they win the championship. And I'm going to say that Kyrie Irving gets the vaccine before Christmas. That's my bold prediction for the Nets. The Charlotte Hornets. My bold prediction for them is that they're in the driver's seat for a long time for the play-in race in the East. But there's going to be an injury to like LaMelo that costs them a chance at the play-in. The Chicago Bulls. My bold prediction for them is that they'll lose in the play-in tournament and Billy Donovan gets the axe. And then we're talking about the Bulls as a blow-it-up team all over again. The Cleveland Cavaliers, my bold prediction for them is that they get off to a fast start and they'll be over 500 at Christmas time, and then they revert back to what they are. Like, we see that with teams all the time. I remember a good example of this was when the 76ers were really awful with Michael Carter-Williams. But that team was a lot worse than this Cavs team. And they were like 500 on Christmas, and then they just faltered. Now it's Brett Brown's first year, too. The Dallas Mavericks, my prediction is that Kristaps Porzingis gets traded somewhere. I don't know where. but he'll get traded, and Dallas acquires somebody. Maybe it's like if Ben Simmons is in the same trade as Kristaps Porzingis, but Ben Simmons doesn't go to Dallas and Porzingis goes to Philly. Yes, let's go with that. 3-way deal. Porzingis to Philly. We don't know who's getting Ben Simmons, and we don't know who's going to the Mavericks. And we don't know where the picks go. The Denver Nuggets, my bold prediction for them is that Jamal Murray will be back before the All-Star break. Somehow. The Detroit Pistons, I predict that Dwayne Casey will be fired during the season. I predicted this last year, but it didn't happen. But I'm going to say that it does happen. The Golden State Warriors, my bold prediction for them is that Stephen Curry wins the scoring title. I mean, like, come on. Like, Steph is just going to put up 40 points a game, and he's just going to be incredible. Next is the Houston Rockets. My bold prediction for them is that they finally move off of Eric Gordon, as he'll be on a contender. I don't know what contender that is. Maybe it's the Mavs. Maybe that's where Simmons goes, and there's picks thrown around, but I doubt that. But I'm going to say that Eric Gordon is on the move somewhere. My bold prediction for the Indiana Pacers, Miles Turner gets moved. And that's where he's going to go. He's going to go to Dallas, and Ben Simmons will go to a team. Maybe the Pacers, maybe not. But let's say my bold prediction for the Indiana Pacers is that they'll acquire Ben Simmons from the Philadelphia 76ers, and Miles Turner goes to Dallas in the trade, and Porzingis goes to Philly. And that's the parameters of a 3-way deal. And there's going to be a lot of picks in there. Indiana, I think, will give up picks. I think there's could be pick swaps in there as well. And then I could see other players being involved in this potential deal as well. My bold prediction for the Clippers is that Kawhi Leonard will be back before the start of the NBA playoffs. And Paul George will have an absolute monster season, keeping the Clippers in the Western Conference playoff mix. The Los Angeles Lakers, my bold prediction for them is that Russell Westbrook will have the most triple-doubles in the league again. The Miami Heat. No, Memphis Grizzlies. I forgot about the Grizzlies. I'm sorry. My bold prediction for the Memphis Grizzlies is that Dylan Brooks will have a game with double-digit three-pointers. I could see him having a crazy game with 10 threes or something like that, right? Dylan Brooks is a good player. Miami. All right. This one is a sad one. This one breaks my heart because I think this is a good organization. I think this could be the end of an era. I think that this is the retirement of Pat Riley. It's unfortunate. It's sad. Pat Riley's the best executive in the league, arguably, right now. Or best executive in terms of overall, him and Popovich. But Riley is a god. And maybe he hangs it up and retires. And Eric Spoelstra, I'm going to say, gets promoted to the new GM and president of basketball operations. And he will hand the head coaching duties off to somebody else. And I could see them hiring within the family. I could see them giving, David Fizdale another chance or something like that. Or, Juwan Howard leaves Michigan for the Heat or something like that. The Milwaukee Bucks. My bold prediction is that Giannis Antetokounmpo wins his third MVP in 4 years. That's just as simple as that. My bold prediction for the Minnesota Timberwolves is that Karl Anthony Towns will request a trade during the season, but he will remain a Timberwolf the whole year. The New Orleans Pelicans, I'm going to say that they will acquire a point guard at the trade deadline. I don't know who that is, but I'm going to say they get a point guard. The New York Knicks, I'm going to say for the second consecutive year, they will have the league's most improved player. And this time, I think it will be the one and only R.J. Barrett. The Oklahoma City Thunder, I'm going to predict that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander averages 20 or more points a game. The Orlando Magic, I'm going to say that Jalen Suggs will lead the team in scoring as a rookie. The Philadelphia 76ers, I already predicted a Ben Simmons trade, and I already have predicted that Kristaps Porzingis will be on this team. But I still don't think that they'll make it past the second round of the postseason. And I'm going to say that Doc Rivers and the team part ways. Let's go bold and ballsy there. And then Doc goes into broadcasting. The Phoenix Suns, my bold prediction for them is that I'm going to say that DeAndre Ayton will make the All-Star team. How's that for a bold prediction? Next up is the Portland Trailblazers. My bold prediction for them is that Damian Lillard will have a 50-point game. How about that? That's a fun one. Next up is the Sacramento Kings. I predict that they will trade De'Aaron Fox to the New Orleans Pelicans as he becomes a running mate with Zion. And in return, I could see them getting Jackson Hayes, maybe Nickeil Alexander-Walker. But I'm going to say that they get Kira Lewis back in the deal. They get Jackson Hayes back. Alexander-Walker stays on the Pels. I'm going to say they get Josh Hart back in the trade and maybe 2 first-round picks. I'm going to say they massively overpay for De'Aaron Fox. Maybe they can get Fox without Hart and without Lewis. Maybe it's Jackson Hayes and Hart and without Kira Lewis, and then they get the up pick or 2 picks or something like that. The San Antonio Spurs. I'm going to keep predicting this. I don't know. I think Greg Popovich retires at the end of the season, and your next head coach of the San Antonio Spurs will be Becky Hammon. Next up, the Toronto Raptors. I predict for the Raptors that they will trade a big name player from the roster. And I'm going to say that it's going to be Pascal Siakam. I don't know where, but I think he's traded. I think Masai trades him. And I'm going to say that he gets traded. Somebody's going to talk themselves into them. And I don't know who he'll get back in return. Maybe it's to the trade for Jeremy Grant or something like that. Let's go with that. I like that a lot. And then like a pick swap or something. like that. Like Detroit talks themselves into Siakam, and then Grant goes to Toronto and is awesome. The Utah Jazz, I'm going to predict that that's a good one too. The Utah Jazz. That's a good bold prediction for the Jazz. I'm going to say that Quinn Snyder's relieved of his duties after the season. Nice run. Sometimes all good things must come to an end, and time runs its course. I'm going to say that's the case here for Quinn Snyder. It's this year's version of Terry Stotts. And then last but not least, the Washington Wizards. I'm going to say that they make another mid-season trade and find a good second fiddle to Bradley Beal. And I could see it being like a point guard even. Or maybe like a really awesome wing player. I don't know who that is. Maybe it's somebody like... I'm trying to think of a good player for this spot. Maybe... I just don't think it's somebody in their conference either. It has to be somebody from the West. Like, I could see it being like... Ooh. Russell, maybe, from the Timberwolves? Probably not. I can't see that being it. I already made a pick for De'Aaron Fox. Like, I could see this being, like, DeJounte Murray from San Antonio or something like that. But I think they get a very good number 2 for Bradley Beal at the trade deadline. I just don't know who that is necessarily. So there you have it, the 2021-22 NBA season prediction special is now complete. So we'll look back on this later in the season to see how I did. Hope you guys have a great night, everyone.